Okay, let's start with today's lecture, which is called Open Journey Planners. And then get this slide. Okay. So Open Journey Planners. This is topic related to the project that we are on. The project is called Open Journey Planner for Danube region as part of the Interreg, which is financed by the European Union. What do you think? What means Open Journey Planner? Okay, let's say what is the journey planner? Yes, when you have to plan a trip. Okay, and this is mostly related to the, let's say, tourists, but also to people that travel each day for work, but mostly focused on tourists. This is journey planners. Why open? The open is the idea that everybody in the European Union can plan their trip using all of the information from all of the countries in the European Union free, so openly. So, for example, you can plan a trip from Bucharest to Zagreb, not necessarily going on, for example, probably in Bucharest you have some, that's called traffic company that transports you from Bucharest to Zagreb. And do you transfer anywhere? It's on some other, yeah. And how do you do that? Yes, but is there information at the Bucharest that tells you at the Bucharest at one that's called the journey planner that tells you need to transfer to the other, not bus, but the other company? It's the same company. Okay. How is it called, that company? Flixbus. Okay. And then we're on the same page. Here we also use Flixbus. Okay. What's the problem with the Flixbus? Flixbus does not offer you, for example, you go from Bucharest to Zagreb. It offers you some exchange points when you need to transfer to another bus. But did it offer you, for example, to use the railway? No. Or for example, an airplane. No. Or some people like to go some parts of the journey. This is more usually focused on tourists by bike. So I don't know. They want to go from Vienna in Austria. This is one colleague from the project. He wants to go from Vienna to the, let's say, Split. This is on coast of Croatia. And from Vienna to Zagreb, he wants to travel with bus. And then he wants from Zagreb to Split for system to offer him, okay, you can go with the bus this part, you can go with the railway this part, but if you want, you can go such from Zagreb, let's say, to Karlovac with bike, and from Karlovac to Zadar with bus, and then again from Zadar to Split with bike, because he's a bike fanatic. And there is not such thing. There is not such thing to offer a bike anywhere in the Europe. Okay, and this is a part that we deal with in this project. So this is the content of today's presentation. Short introduction, some directives and policies regarding the Open Journey Planners, the link, how to link the travel information, and something regarding the architecture of such system. Then I will describe the previous project, Linking Danube, which was former project which led to this one. Okay, and it ends a short conclusion. So why journey planners? The first thing is that European Union is focused on the future sustainable mobility, ITS. So ITS is shortened from Intelligent Transport System. Here there are two aspects important. The first one is the European wants to promote more sustainable transport modes, such as bike, such as railway, such as how do I say that in English? So the rivers. So for you to use the boats on the rivers, it's in the Europe. Okay, this is the idea, to remove as much as possible people using cars to go on the other more sustainable transport modes. Do you understand? Okay, and that's the first part. The second part is the how to integrate transport modes. Usually, as you said, you go from Bucharest to Zagreb, and there is only one transport mode, the bus. How to offer person, so the customer, to offer multimodal transport modes. So some parts of the journey to use some other mode. This is what we call the multimodal, and this is actually one of the hottest topic in the European Union today. How to use multimodal traffic information. Okay, not only so you can also use the bus, but suggesting, okay, if this is a large distance, you can use plane, but you can also go by car, or you can also go by railway. There are people that I know one of them. He travels a lot from Zagreb to Slovakia, and especially Žilina in Slovakia. And he could use the airplane. It could be actually cheaper because there are cheap flights from Zagreb to Bratislava and Žilina, but he does not want to. He is a railway fanatic and he wants to use railway. He goes all the way with railway. Even with the car, he would go faster, especially with the plane, but he is a fanatic. He wants to go with railway. And what's the problem? There is not such line. He cannot enter in Zagreb and enter destination Žilina, and for him to get a timetable in railway to get from Zagreb to Žilina. What does he need to do? He plans a route from Zagreb to Vienna. It's in Austria, and then he goes on the local planner in Vienna. So local company in Vienna goes on their website and plans a trip from Vienna to Žilina. You understand what he needs to do? He cannot do that only in Zagreb, and that's not only the case for the Zagreb. It also works for the Vienna. Vienna cannot plan. In Vienna, you cannot plan, for example, some trips to Dubrovnik. Probably Dubrovnik you can, but some smaller, let's say, cities you cannot. But if you go to Zagreb and go on the website on Zagreb for some time, you can see that you can. And that's the idea. That's the problem. That's what this project wants to solve. Okay. So the other thing why to use Journey Planners is it's one of the directives in the EU, especially within this European Territorial Cooperation Program. So it means Territorial Cooperation Program. It means that they want all of the countries to cooperate so that all of the journey planners and the journeys can be done internationally. So that you not have to visit the planner in Zagreb and then in the Vienna to look for that you don't need to do that in Zagreb if you go from Zagreb. Okay. So this is an initiative between national, regional, and local authorities. What does that mean? There is not a country that only has one local planner. For example, in Croatia, each city actually has not only one, but several local journey planners. In Zagreb, if you want to travel within the Zagreb, there is a company called Z. You know Z. Yeah. And you can use Z, but only for bus and tramway. Did I say that correctly in English? Tramway. Yeah. Tram. But you cannot use Z for railway. You need to go on the other website for the railway. And there are also some other smaller providers of public transport. For example, Čazmatrans that also does some things in Zagreb. Okay, that's just for Zagreb. And Zagreb is small and Croatia is small. If you look at the larger countries, Western, it's much messier. Okay, and then also for Zagreb, it has its own. And Dubrovnik, it has its own transport. And then when you want to link Zagreb and Zadar, there are several companies where you can use their information to plan the route. But the problem is you cannot do that outside of the Croatia because you do not have the information about other You can plan for example, Zagreb to Vienna, but you cannot plan from Zagreb to Žilina because that there is not direct connection. There's no information at Zagreb that tells you how to travel to Žilina. Okay. This means that there has to be initiative between national local planners, regional local planners, and local planners, for example, in some city or small village or something like that. The other vertical is focused on the Danube region, which is part of the EU strategy.
Nastala je tako?
Da, do 11.
Sorry, tražimo dvoranu.
Dobro. Strategy for the Danube region to improve the travel information in this region. For example, Croatia is part of this region because there is a small part of Danube River that covers from Croatia. Yeah, you know. Yeah, in Romania there is a large part that goes to Romania. Yeah. So that's why we are part of the Danube region, and that's why we entered this project because we are in Danube region, not as you, but just a small part. Okay. So the project that I will describe later is the Link in Danube project, which aims to link services that provide travel information between 6 countries. And why Journey plans the other points is the increase in passenger transfer. In some European documents, there is written that the passenger transport, it's also includes tourists, will increase 30% by 2030 and 50% by 2050. So more and more people use transport because actually there is more and more people in the cities of the European Union, and that's why it's the case. And the last one is to connect the travel information within different services. This means how to connect travel information that provides local journey planner in Zagreb with the travel information that provides local journey planner in Vienna or Žilina and something like that. How to do that? That's the idea. Okay. When doing that, the 3 important aspects of the data are written here. First, the quality. This means that the data has to be of high quality, meaning that it has to be structured, it has to be readable. So when you present a timetable, it has to be presented in such a way that everybody can read it. This means the quality. Okay. It has to be rich. This means that all of the important data has to be visible. You cannot, for example, let's say there is each hour there is a bus from Zagreb to Zadar. The rich means that you cannot remove some of the buses because that's false information. They are in the timetable. There are buses, but you didn't written them. This means rich. Okay. Or the other way is there are buses, they are written, but they actually some of them actually do not go from Zagreb to Zadar. And the last and the most important part is timely data. What does that mean? In Croatia, I don't know how it is in Romania. In the Western countries, it's not like that. But in Croatia, is the problem that often there are changes in the schedule. For example, this week the bus goes from Zagreb to Zadar each day at 9 o'clock, and that's okay. And then something happens, I don't know what. The next week it does not go at that time. It goes, I don't know, in 9:30 or 10. I don't know what's the idea. And when you have a lot of timetables in such system, what do you need to do? You need to report that you changed the timetable, and that's hard to do when you have a lot of timetables in very large systems. So the data, it needs to be timely, but it's time consuming when you change the schedule all of the time. Or what happens sometimes in Croatia, or especially for the railway. One train is late, for example, 10 minutes, and then they change all of the schedule for that day. And someone that, let's say, it's late at 9 a.m., and you had a planned trip at 5 p.m., so later that evening, and this in the morning is late 10 minutes. This in the evening will not be late 10 minutes, it will be late 1 hour because it's cumulative. Okay, do you understand what I'm trying to say? This is not the case probably in some more structured countries, but here in Croatia, we have a problem with mostly railway. The buses are more on point, but there are also some smaller, they can be late, but the railway is really always late. So you get the idea. It's the same in the Romania. Yeah, okay. So the data needs to be timely. This is the most hardest thing to do. The other problems in transport are the first one is that the public transport infrastructure is not equally developed in all EU member countries. This is obvious thing that in the Western countries of the European Union, the infrastructure is more developed. Okay. Then the other problem is the urban environments. So in larger cities, congestions occur. I don't know how it is in Bucharest. Because Bucharest is, I think, much larger than Zagreb. How many people does Bucharest have?
Around 2.5, 3 million with the suburbs.
Okay, yeah. Zagreb has with the suburbs 1 million, a little bit bigger than 1 million. So are there any congestions in the Bucharest? Yeah, always. So in Zagreb, there are congestions, but usually only in the rush hours. So in the morning from 7:30 to let's say 8:30, and in the afternoon from 3:30 to 5:30, something like that. In the other time in the day, they are not congestions. This is the case for Zagreb. If you go, for example, to some bigger city in Germany, they are usually there is congestion usually during the whole day. In the peak hours, it's the most congestion, but during the whole day there are some congestions. This is because it's highly populated area. Okay, how to solve the congestion problems? The obvious way is to create a new transport infrastructure, so give more lanes, but that's the not sustainable way. Yeah, you just build roads for more cars and more cars and more cars, but the idea is not to do that. The idea is to improve for example, the efficiency of, I don't know, traffic lights, etc., or to put the people to use more public transport and let's say bike and something like that. I'm not sure what transport did you use to get here? No, from you are placed at the student home. No, where are you placed? You rent. Yeah, and it's paid by Erasmus. But your own. Okay, but scholarship is paid by Erasmus.
Yeah.
Okay. Then okay. Where do you rent?
This.
Rudish. Then you need to travel to here. How do you travel?
Yeah, with the car.
With the car. Okay. Did you rent also a car or did you travel with car? You came with the car. Okay. Then you are typical Croatian. Most of the Croatian use cars to go to the work. That's why there are a lot of congestions in the morning. Okay, but the idea is to promote more people to use bike. Like in Amsterdam, there people use bikes all the time. So, but I don't know in how many years we will get to that point. Okay, for example, today I came with a bike. I usually came with a bike, but sometimes I came with a car. But that's the idea. Okay, the other problem is that in rural areas, the public infrastructure is often underdeveloped due to the economic unprofitability. This is not only related to the traffic infrastructure, this is also mostly related to the companies that transport passengers in such areas. For example, if you move from Zagreb to any other rural area, the frequency of bus is usually 1 or 2 per day. Even in the bigger cities, it's 1 or 2. This is not for example, for people who travel to work, it's usually placed at that time, so early in the morning, so that you come to work, and early in the somewhere in the evening when you come back to work from work. But it's not good for other people that want just to visit to Zagreb, something do, and return from Zagreb back. This is not a big ideal case, and it's the same in other more developed countries, because it's not profitable. Or if there are just a couple of people that you need to transport, of course, then the transport companies decide, then they reduce the frequency of their buses, and then it ends like that. Okay, that's why the people in the rural areas use more private cars, their vehicles, so they use private transport here. The goal is to manage the transport system more efficiently without physical upgrading the infrastructure, as we already said. And all of these problems are reflected in the white paper. Did you ever hear about the white paper of the European Union? It has a lot of points that are focused on promoting the sustainability and to be more ecologically aware. It's big book, it's not a short one, that promotes such things. Some of the things that are written in this white paper are presented here. This is the focus on travel information services in intelligent transport systems, which are identified as an important factor that can contribute to the reduction of the gas emissions, so to reduce actually the use of cars, to reduce gas, and which affects our ozone, okay, and leads to the how is it called on the English? I know creation, but no, I cannot remember. It's not important. So, which leads to increasing temperature on the Earth. I don't know how it's called, that effect on English. It's not important. We call that something like plastic. When I would translate from creation, it will be plastic effect, but it's not plastic effect because of the CO2, because of the dioxide. Okay, it's not important, and the general idea is to improve the efficiency of the transport system. Okay, there are also some directives. Directives are important because when you apply some project, for example, to get for the researchers to get some money, they apply for projects and they say, this topic that I deal with is related to some directive, and then you get some points for that. You understand what I'm trying to say? You get some points, meaning that you will probably get that project and you will get some money to do that. There are 4 priority areas in this directive, which the last one is 2010. The next one will be, I don't know, in 2 years or something like that. The areas are the optimal use of road traffic and travel data. This means that although there are a lot of travel data, they are actually not used optimally, because everybody uses it for their purposes, and there is no such bigger system that tries to optimize this subsystem. The second one is continuity of traffic and freight management IT services, meaning that these services have to have timely continuity. They have to provide data continuously, let's say. Then the third one is ITS road safety and security applications, and the fourth one is linking the vehicle with transport infrastructure. In all of these services, in all of these areas, some part of the open journey planners and multimodal information is presented. But the actions related only to the multimodal transport are the provision of EU-wide multimodal travel information services, and this is exactly what we do in this project. The second one is provision of EU-wide real-time traffic information services, meaning that the time Real time means that you provide exactly the timetable for some buses that is at that point when you look at it. There is also delegated regulations from 2017 that has the specifications for multimodal information services to be made available across the EU. And this is here is the delegated regulation. So it says linking of services means that connection of local, regional, and national travel information systems, which are interlinked via technical interfaces to provide routing results or other application programming interfaces results based on static and or dynamic travel and traffic information. So what is the idea of this directive? The idea of this directive is to connect all of the local journey planners in the European Union. For example, local journey planner in Zagreb, local journey planners, all of the local journey planners in the EU. The way to do that is you cannot change, for example, the policy of some company. Some company that does only routing in Croatia, or it has its own rules. In you cannot force all of the companies in the EU that does the journey planning to, let's say, have some format of data, have a unique structure of the timetable and something like that, because you cannot do that because people are stubborn. So what is the other way in which you can use all of the information from all of the local services without forcing them to have the exact format in their services? What this means, it means that the programmers that work in such companies, they have to change all of their application to have the standard that EU wants, which is not possible. That's why there is other solution which we call application programming interfaces. This is interface. Do you know what the interface means? Okay, that's the good idea. It looks at the graphic interface, but it's actually not. That would be graphical interface. Graphical interface means that there is a window in Windows which connects you with the user that clicks with the background code. That means graphical user interface. Just interface means there is actually a website which lists all of that's called methods, the APIs that connect the user which clicks on the map and plans his journey with the background code. Why is this important? Using this, you can say everybody that every local journey planner can use their own, I don't know in which way they are develop their services, but they can transform these services by adding application programming interface that communicates with their service with this API. And this API, its application programming interface, is in format that everybody uses, that every local journal planner can use. It's a standard. For example, the standard is today is USB-C type. Every mobile telephone, every smartphone, we probably use this type. And when you say that each local journey planner can use the software whatever they want, but they need to make an API in such way that all of the citizens of the EU and all of the other local journey planners can understand that information in some standard. Do you know what I'm trying to say? That means the API. Okay. Okay, in addition to the air, railway, and maritime modes of transport, which are more often booked. What does it mean booked? You go on the website and you see when does the bus leave, and you plan your route. The other important part of this regulation is the emphasis on the on-demand or on-call transport mode. Do you have any idea what does it mean on-demand? Yes, one example. Did you ever had to call something to pick you up and some taxi. Taxi is an example of on-demand transport mode. So basically, you call the taxi service, or you use, is there Uber in Romania? Yeah, or you use the smartphone, and you say, pick me up, and then the, I don't know, 10 or 20 minutes, depending on where they are, they pick you up. This is what it means on demand or on call, or the third term is dial a ride. This part of the, okay, this problem on demand is really hard to integrate in the local journey planners because there is no timetable. Because, for example, you lie on the couch and you remember, oh, I have to go to the classroom. Oh, fast, let's dial a taxi. You cannot plan it in advance. But there is a general idea to include that in the local journey plan. Okay, how to link travel information. The problem is linking travel information services across national and regional borders. As we already said, how to link the information from the local journey planner in Zagreb with the local journey planner in Vienna. Okay, but the focusing is on the all EU member countries. There are in total 27 countries today in the EU. The next is the problem of large number of services providing multimodal information in the EU. So there are a lot of local journey planners, and how to connect them all. That's the idea. That's the question. Some of them are restricted to some certain regional or national areas. There are also a very, very large number of trips done by the EU residents, more than 100 million border crossing per year, just for the EU. And there are also even a bigger problem is the large number of tourists, which I don't know for which year was that. There are several 100 million border crossings a year. For which do you think is the worst? For the regular EU resident or for the tourist when he plans the route, when he plans the journey? Which one has more problems? Tourist, yes, the tourist. Why is that? Because the tourist has to know where to find information. If he wants to travel from Spain or Romania to Zagreb, he has to know on which website or journey planner he has to visit to find its route. For EU residents, it's not as big as problem because most of our are already used to that. And I don't know. I know how to access in Zagreb or how to access in Vienna. I do not know which website it is the Bucharest, but I can easily find it. For tourists, it's a harder thing to do, especially because the EU has a problem which America does not have. What do you think is the problem? In America, there are 50 states. Why they do not have such problem when they with the passengers or the tourists when they go between some cities? Okay, language is the problem because each journey planner is usually written in one language, and some of them are also in English, but not all of them. For example, there were some planners in Slovakia that was only in Slovakia, and I need to plan my route within the Slovakia. When I was in Slovakia, I needed to get a grasp of the Slovakian language to find the route between that. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? In America, that's not a problem because it's only in English. Okay, that's why the European Union has some odd problems that Americans do not. So there is also the need for a single central door-to-door travel information system, including international routing. Not necessarily door-to-door, but at least city-to-city or something like that, which includes international routing. Okay. Then we also, in that routing, include, as we already said, multimodal travel informations, where travelers often want to connect multiple modes of transport to get to their destinations. When you travel, for example, from Romania to Zagreb, because you needed to return to Zagreb, you didn't bother to look at other transport modes. But when you do that touristically, when you are on vacation and want to explore some country, will you do that this summer, perhaps in Croatia? Or do you return to Romania? Yeah, you should do. You should do that because Croatian coast is beautiful. There are a lot of things to visit. You can also visit some things in the inland where they're how that's called Velebit. You know where is Velebit? It's a big mountain called Velebit. There are a lot of national parks and parks around that, which are nice to see, especially the Plitvice lakes. Okay, there are also some other small, not so popular places that are cool to visit if you like nature or something. Okay. Yeah, basically that if you are tourist, then you are interested also more in cultural benefits, and you would like for a journey planner to say, you can exit here, perhaps visit some, I don't know, monument or visit Plitvice lakes. And then later you return and there is a bus at, I don't know, 4 p.m. waiting for you to go to Zagreb or something like that. That's the idea of such journey planners, to offer it more trips. So big trip to split on the small trips based on your, of course, inputs, and offer you how you can visit something here, and then you decide, I will not visit that, I will visit that, and go on. Okay. As a consequence of the multimodal solutions and all local journey planners, as we already said, travelers often have to visit several travel information sites, so websites, to determine a travel schedule or use only one transport mode for long distance travel, such as rail or airplane. For example, one time I planned my trip from Zagreb to Sweden or something like that. And the system only offered me plane from the airport, and I didn't want to use plane because I wanted to go first to, I don't know, somewhere in Germany, then in Denmark, something, and then to Sweden. And then what I needed to do, then I needed to visit more websites to see, there is a local planner from Zagreb to Bayern Munich. And then in Munich, I visit another website to determine which route to take from Munich to Copenhagen and something to visit between. And then from Copenhagen to determine which route to use from Copenhagen to Sweden. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? There is not one planner that can do that from Zagreb to, and then in the Copenhagen, you can use boats to go from Denmark to Sweden, but then you can also use a railway that goes underneath because there is a sea between. Okay, so you understand the idea. So what is the system architecture? There are basically two, actually three, but two most distinct ones of the architecture that can provide such information, that can link all of the information from all the local journey planners. One is the central system, and the other one is the distributed system. And what we actually did in the project is a combination between the central and distributed. So distributed system for each country, but it's actually not a country. So for each local planner that exists in the country that provides information, but we limit it to the one at the level of the country to have its planner and to interchange, to change information between the other local journey planners. So basically, if I want to travel from Zagreb to Bucharest, I enter the local journey planner in Zagreb in such system, and I enter the Bucharest that I want to go to Bucharest, and he needs to recognize which journey planners other that he needs to contact. So he needs to contact a journey planner at Hungary and journey planner at Bucharest, and tell them, I will enter your country at this point, and I will exit your country at this point, and then this local journey planner, for example, in Hungary, gives a route from this point to this point. The same is for the Romania. This means distributed system. The central one does not have a one local journey planner. There are local journey planners. They work at each country, but they are not connected. All of the local journey planners send their data to one place. Let's call that the server. Where this data about timetables is stored. And then when you plan a route from Croatia to Romania, it goes to this central system, look at the data that is written in that system and plans a route. The problem with that is whenever you change the schedule in some local journey planner, and there is more than 1,000 local journey planners in the European Union, the data also needs to be changed in the central system. So you basically have to force each company that provides information, when they change the schedule, they also need to report to the central European server that they changed their schedule, which is not possible, for example, in Croatia, because they do not give, they do not want to do that because it's tiresome. Okay, and we can continue. Okay, the characteristics of the system architecture, the distributed one. There needs to be common interface between existing travel information services. There needs to be adequate processing of requests that go beyond the geographical borders of local system and integration of local system results into the final route. There has to be interchange of routing results and not the basic travel data, the schedule. So we do not change the schedule. We only interchange the routes, which partially protects the modification of all data. This also solves the problem of compatibility of data formats. And the last part is important. Interchange of the results is achieved the occasion programming interface, which we already told. Here is how it looks like. So there, somebody wants to go from, I don't know, someplace in Austria to someplace in Romania. You probably know what place this is. I'm not sure. And they enter the local journey planner in Austria. Each of these local journey planners has its own architecture that's aimed for that country. I don't know, does the routing in that country. But additionally, they implemented an API. They implemented a NIS. They implemented several methods that connect, that transform their architecture in the standard format that can be used between other local journey planners. For example, standard format for the route. It means that it has to have a and a series of, let's say, points, geographical points. X1, Y1, X2, that visited within the route. And we say that it has to be in such format. This is what means an API standard. And there is a method route that returns this format of the data, and then other local journey planners can use that. The problem here is when you plan a trip within the Austria, there is no problem. You use just the local journey planner. When you plan the trip from Austria to Romania, the system needs to recognize that you are traveling outside of the borders. Then it needs to determine which local journey planner you need to call. But not only that, between the borders, before any routing, there are defined the exchange points. You cannot cross at each point of the border. There are several cross-border points where you need to, I don't know, in European Union, if you're in Schengen, you do not need to show your ID and passport. I don't know how it is in Romania. Between Romania, how did you travel to here? Did you go from Romania to Hungary? Yeah. So between Romania and Hungary, do you need to show your passport?
Yeah.
Yeah. And between yeah, the Croatia is also not in Schengen. Then that's why between the borders, we have a border with Slovenia and Hungary. You also need to show passport or some personal ID. Okay. But between, for example, Slovenia
and Austria, you do not need to do that. But there are also exchange points. You cannot cross the border at some point that you want. Okay. You need to define the exchange points between each country, so here and here, and then when the system recognizes which local journey it needs to call, it plans a route from the determined exchange point here to the determined exchange point here. There can be several routes at that point, but the customer is offered several routes and he selects one. And then again, from this exchange point to the destination, there can be several routes and the customer is selected. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? And this is what does this routing between exchange points, does each local journey planner for itself. So when we start from here to here, this local journey planner recognizes which journey planners he has to call, but this one plans a route from here to here. The second journey planner routes from one exchange point to another, and the third one plans a route from this one to this one. And then they return, each one of these returns a part of the route, and this one combines it and shows it on the map. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Okay. Most often, the problem here is that this local journey planner does not have all of the names of the other, for example, cities and stops and etc. in other countries. And when this is recognized, some planners do, but some do not. Usually, there is when you want to show the result, the system is redirected to another site which covers all of the Europe, and the route is plotted. You get the route. This can be done very easily. Later we will see what are the problems with such systems. So here is example. Here is once again how the request is processed. You get the request, you split it. If the request is between different countries, you split it. And each journey planner deals with its own request. Only thing that this other local journey planners needs are the exchange points between the countries. And then when each local journey planner returns its route, assembly or all partial routes in one and show it on the map. There can be several routes here. You can show several suggestions of the route, and the customer can choose the best one. Regarding the sustainability of the system, the proposed distributed system supports system upgrade options instead of creating a whole new system. This is a good thing because when you define only the API, the system of the local journey planner behind this API can be whatever it wants to be. They only need to. They can on the local market, for example, in Croatia, they can do some other routing or something like that. Other services they can offer, which they can get paid for. Nobody cares about that. But if they want to provide a service across Croatia, they need to follow an API which determines the standard. So basically, they just what they do in Croatia, they just need to transform in other format that all of the other local journey planners can use. And this means that at one point, the company completely changes the user interface, creates a new website, for example. The API will not change at all. It will remain the same. The methods remain the same, just the interface is completely different for the users because, I don't know, it's more friendly, it has different colors, it has different possibilities and something like that. It's not, it does not change. And then all of these APIs can be also used by other local journey planners. That's the cool idea because, for example, some companies located in Croatia can, what is thing now is only uses data for Croatia. But for example, they can also use, if there is an API or local journey planner in Slovakia that it has open its data, they can use data also from Slovakia to provide
some transport routes from Zagreb to Slovakia and get money for that. So establish a secure place in the market. Okay, here is the figure representing that. So benefits of the such system are high quality services, satisfies users, and sustainable transport. So what are then open APIs? Open APIs are just APIs, meaning that everybody can access it, that they are free. For example, basic difference between when something is open and not. When, for example, do you know about Linux and Windows? Did you ever heard about Linux operating system? The basic difference is everybody uses Windows, but you have to pay for it. Or Word, for example, you have to pay for Word. And Linux is completely free system that you can use. You do not have to pay it. But the problem is, when you pay something, then you get also custom support for that. You can also address Windows. I have a problem with something, and you get the answer. With Linux, you cannot do that because it's free, completely free. And this is also the same with API. If the API is not open, that means the some company defined its standard. And if you want to use that standard, you have to pay for it because they place the copyright. They are the first that get the idea how this system should work, what format should be, and you cannot use it because they place the copyright. You have to pay for it. Okay, and the open API means that you do not have to pay for it. It's open for everybody. Okay, that's if I was able to explain that, you could understand. So open API is publicly available interface that provides a standard for defining APIs that can be used, APIs that can be used by different local journey planners. This is the one way to change all of the information. It can support other standards. These are not important because NETEX, NETEX is the most famous one. This is the standard used for creating the timetables on buses. Regarding national requirements, as we already said, information on all transport modes. So the local journey planner has to have information on all the transport modes that it can use. It has to have information regarding the lines. Where are the lines? For example, bus line. Most of the buses that go from Zagreb to Zadar go on direct line using the highway. So these are the lines. For example, you cannot force the bus to go on some other route. So you could visit, I don't know, national lakes or something like that. If it's a lake. And also it has to have information for international routing about the exchange points. Okay, then we will finish in 10 minutes. Open journey planners. The system includes different entities with a relatively complex environment. This is what we already said. The main principle we already said, divide the international travel request into smaller requests that will be handled by local journey planners, the exchange points, and gathering the results of local journey planners into the final route. We already said that the local journey planner must be able to recognize that the destination or the starting point is not within the geographical boundaries and which local journey planner it has to call. And the other important part, which you already partially addressed, is when you plan a route from Zagreb to Bucharest, there needs to be, this is called a repository, of all of the places that you can visit. So in Zagreb, you have to have information about all of the places in European Union that you have to visit. This is what we call a repository. And the problem is that if they are all in English, that would be great. Then I will know, for example, when I go from Zagreb, I need to enter Vienna. But in Zagreb, for example, if you're a foreigner and you want to go for Vienna, Vienna in Croatian is not called Vienna. It's called Beč. It's completely different order of letters. and that's confusing. If the local journey planners does not offer the locations, stations, addresses, exchange points, cities, and everything else in some standard language, for example, English, then you have a big problem. You understand what I'm trying to say? This is what I had a problem in Slovakia. I was in Slovakia in a place called not Žilina, but High Tatras. High Tatras. This means big mountains. Let's say. And I wanted to use the train from one place that I was stationed to the nearest city. And in English, this city was called, I cannot remember now, but I knew how it was called. And I need to go to their local journey planners, and I couldn't find this city because it's spelled different in Slovakia, completely different letters. And then, of course, I Googled it and I found it, but you need to know how to find the information that you have to use. This is the big problem. Okay, so the central node can have all of the information. The Gazeta means all of the information about the stations, about the addresses, about the cities, and several other points. The points of interest. It needs to have exchange points and some routing pre-processing information. Not important. The API is the one. Here is the illustration. This one has, let's say, some different plugin, and these are all local journey planners. And the API, Open API, is the one that transforms such data in this format to this format and connects it. Okay, this is the Open API. Okay, and the last one is, I will describe the project Link in Danube. This is a pilot project in the Danube region called Linking Transnational Multimodal Travel Information and Journey Planners for Environmentally Friendly Mobility in Danube region. The 6 countries were included: Austria, Czech Republic, Hungary, Romania, Slovakia, and Slovenia. What was done in project? For each country, one journey planner was used at the national level. Although there are often several journey planners, some planners supported multimodal travel and some did not. And 2 cases were analyzed: remote travel, when countries of destination and origin do not share a border. For example, when you go from Croatia to Bucharest, we do not share border. And the neighboring countries of the destination origin that share border, for example, from Romania to Hungary, someplace in Hungary, when you share the border. Okay, these are the case studies that were examined. So neighboring are this one: from Vienna to Budapest, from Vienna to Brno, from I don't know, what does it say here? It's bad resolution. I don't know how to spell it. H-town to Vienna and so on. So the blue lines are the neighboring, and the green ones are from Vienna to Ljubljana and from Timisoara to Vienna. You probably know where Timisoara is. It's down in Romania. Okay. These are the remote ones. Why from Vienna to Ljubljana? Because although they share a border, most of the people do not go straight like this. They go through Hungary. So that's why it's not a neighboring. The fastest route from Vienna to Ljubljana is not to go through Austria, but to go from Hungary to Ljubljana, because the highway goes that way. Okay, and then for each local journey planner, these are the local journey planner used. In Austria, which they do not spell, so Austrians call the Österreich, and it's completely different spelling. It's not it's this means O with I don't know how it's spelled in English. In German, it's umlaut. It's
Okay, you know it. And this is how they call their local journey planner. And this local journey planner offers services such as railway service, bus service, car service, and also today they have a bike service. So anywhere in the Österreich, you can plan your route using all of these services. Okay, then there are IDOs. This is somewhere, I don't know where. Probably, I don't know, in Czech Republic or Slovakia and so on. You probably know this one. This very Simosara Journey Planner, Philip, if that's called, I don't know. Okay, that this one were used. What is the architecture of the proposed system? The proposed system has a central node, an international routing service, and local journey planners. All of the information between the local journey planners is done within the open API, and for that to work, the exchange points between the countries needed to be determined. The remaining accession elements are the open API, but the part of the two-way authentication, meaning that the request has to be authenticated so that somebody does not attack your system outside of the system. The exchange points, we already said what that is, and the points. POI means point of interest. Okay, these are all of the stations, lines, cities, and so on. Here is how it works. So it's not completely distributed. When you make a request, it goes to central node, and central node decides which journey planner to call. If you're not going to the other country, then just plan the route within the country. Return to the local journey planner that called the central node. This is all that we all discussed that. So the central node is the main part of the system that provides logic for the modifying requests. It collects all the information obtained from local journey planners and assembles the final route. This is implemented within a web portal with a graphic interface for international journey planner. The international routing service, it provides information on relevant exchange points between the starting point and destination, and information on static routing between these points under the jurisdiction of local journey planner. This service is used to determine which local journey planner to call when there is a route between different countries, and to determine which exchange points to use. Okay. And the last one is the local journey planner, which is defined for each country itself, and it uses a unique web portal for that country. And that's all. So to conclude, there needs to be a unique multimodal road planner for the EU. It has to what we propose within this project is to use the centrally distributed system and to use open API specification. Thank you for your attention. Do you have any questions? I did my best to describe it as I could. I know it's not related to your topic, probably not actually